Hi, I'm Coach Barrett, and we wanted to make a video to kind of help you figure out how to set up the volleyball systems here at Fire Prairie. These are called Shelby systems. What the difference is they have rails that slide up and down. This is a crank pole. The other one is called a slider pole. Whenever you're putting the nets up, one thing you can do is those rails can go up and down. So this, you can lift up this lever and it goes up and down. It's better to start off with it down low because it's easier to hook up the net. Whenever you are sliding the rail, never let it drop too low, because if it drops down and hits the floor, it can break or it can lose a piece down here at the bottom of the lever. So what I do is I'm going to put it about up eye level. There's a wire coming off of it. The net has a red hook. The red hook goes inside the wire eyelet. That's the very first step. Now, from this point, I can go ahead and lift it. If you'll notice on the crank, I've made two blue lines. I have a blue line here and a blue line underneath. You never want to crank it past those blue lines because it puts too much tension or it breaks the rail. So it's important that you not over crank it. If you notice, I've got it way cranked out at this point. I'm going to go ahead and lift it up. Some of you are Little League coaches, so you don't want it up very high. So I suggest you put it up to at least about an inch higher than what you want it. For me, I'm a high school volleyball coach, so I usually put it right at my knuckles. I'll put it a little bit lower for today. After you've hooked that hook up, don't hook the bottom pieces. Walk to the other side. And on the other side, you should have two chains. If there's not two chains on the other side, don't use it. This is a tension system. If you use anything not as strong as a chain, there's a chance that it can snap and injure someone. Once you've got both sets of chains, what you're going to do is you're going to lower the slide to eye level. The way you lower these is you uncrank them a little bit. It slides up and down, and to tighten, you tighten that knob back up. I'm going to pull it as tight as I can and then hook it. Now I can uncrank, slide it to where I want it, and then tighten it again. Now we have both tops hooked up. We're going to go back over and we're going to crank the net. And what we're going to do, we're going to crank it so that the top part of the net creates a straight line. You don't want to over tighten it either, because what it'll put way too much pressure on this upper piece up here. So you got to make sure you just tighten it until you get a straight line at the top of the net. Now there's lots of going back and forth. We're going to go back to that side and we're going to hook the second chain. The second chain, you put it through the eyelet that allows this pole to go straight up and down. So I'm going to put it right here. Now you notice this pole is straight up and down. If you over tighten it, that pole's not straight up and down. So I'm going to leave it right there. And we're set on this side. Now we go back to the other side and we're almost finished. On the other side, there's not a chain. There's this rope with a hook on the end. And sometimes it'll be tight or someone has not untied it. You just kind of got to work with it and loosen it up so that it will stretch all the way to this eyelet on the rail. Go ahead and hook that on. Now, when you pull this string, it's going to tighten the bottom of the net, but also it's going to lower the net about an inch. So we tighten it. Now, when we're taking the net down, we're just going to go backwards. But the very first thing you want to do is you want to crank and release the tension. It's real important because none of the top level, the top chains and the bottom chains are going to loosen up. So we go ahead and we uncrank. And again, you don't want to over crank, even when you're undoing it, because if you go past a certain point, it'll ruin the crank. So I have a blue line that I'm going to uncrank to, or until I know it's loose enough to unhook. So I think we're good right there. I unhook on this side, I unhook on the other side, and then all you have to do is lower the rails, unhook it, right, and then you're finished. Now, when you're storing nets, a lot of people are being nice and they're rolling them up. The problem is that tangles them up. So when you store these nets, all you have to do is fold them in half and then wad them up. And then right over here is where we store them. The nets can go down on the floor, but if you notice, there's only one chain holding all 4 poles. So it's real important that an adult takes these poles down, because if I take it down and I pull one off, this other one may come also with it. So please make sure that an adult's doing it, and you kind of lean them in so that you know they're not going to fall back. And if you leave poles in here, go ahead and attach the chain. If you have any questions, you can call at school, 650-7160, and they'll forward you to my voicemail. You can leave me a message if you have any questions, or you can shoot me an email at sbarrett.net. Thanks.